Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be going over a potential bug, well I guess bugs. There's one interaction that could be a bug but might not be, but there's definitely an interaction here that is a bug. So I'm just going to show you guys the mod sets that I'm using. What I'm testing is Lily and her 5k maim damage out, just to see how it does against a team that has maim resist mods. So we're using Pete, we're using Shane. With Shane, we have a pretty high resist mod, 56%, so I guess it's not as high as I would like, but it's still a decent mod resist. We're using Rosita as well, and I wanted to throw in a bide toon just because if she takes 2,000 damage, she pushes back 3,000 damage onto the enemy. We're also going to be testing Trader because he's a resilient toon, so I gave him a maim resist mod that is over 50%, meaning he should be immune to maim. So he will never take maim damage. At least that's the goal, because the resilient specialist skill means he is 50% resistant to everything. And that includes maim, burn, bleed, hemobleed, trauma, crosshairs, stun, taunt, confuse, impair, attack down, defense down, and so on. For this video, our main focus will definitely be on Trader, because this is a very weird interaction that we're going to see where he actually does take maim damage for no particular reason. So even though he is immune to maim damage, for some reason he is still taking damage. So we're going to kind of just look and see and go through some film that I did today. Shout out to Fulia. He ended up asking me about why maim resists were still showing as resists, but they were still taking damage, which is a little confusing. And the interaction you just saw now that I'm a little confused at, and I'm going to replay it for you guys. And this is an interaction that I think is a bug, but Shane, when he bodyguards for a toon, if he has a maim resist mod, he's able to resist the maim damage. Now, to me, this doesn't seem right, only because when I see this damage being transferred to another character, I see it as flat damage. I understand that maim is a specific type of damage, but I still don't think that this should occur, because the damage being transferred to a different toon, it's kind of like flat damage. It's almost comparable to waste knot, where the damage is just a flat amount and it's transferred irregardless of a toon's defense, for example. The other issue that you might have just seen is that it shows a toon is resisting the maim damage, but they're still taking the maim damage, which of course is really confusing because you're unsure if a toon is actually resisting or if it's just showing that they're resisting the maim damage. And I'm not sure if this occurs across other characters or not, but it would definitely be interesting. And I can't wrap my head around how Shane can resist the maim damage from a different character. Like, if he does, it just makes him to be an even stronger character than we thought of originally. It just seems like a bug to me. Now, if I'm told otherwise, then I'm told otherwise. But for now, it's just very confusing. And to add to the confusion, whenever a toon resists the maim damage, they might still take it, or it's just coming up every time the maim damage is occurring, I guess. It's not very clear, so I would love for some clarification on if it's an actual bug or if it's not, because it would just be great to have some more information on the matter. And now we're kind of going to delve into what is going on with Trader, because right here, he acted appropriately. He ended up resisting the maim damage. He should be immune to it because, as you saw before, he does have technically 100% resistance because of the combination of resilient as well as his, I think it was a 67% maim resist mod. So that should be 117% resistant or just completely immune to it. But what we're going to notice is that he still can take maim damage. I'm not exactly sure why, because he should be immune to it, yet right here he takes 5,000 damage. It showed he was immune, but I think what's even more confounding is that he's taking actual damage. So it's not maim damage that he's receiving, but it's 5,000 just flat damage, no maim at all. So I'm not exactly sure if that's an interaction because of Lily or if it's an interaction because resilient isn't working properly. So it's a little confusing to figure out what it's attributed to. I know that they mentioned in their new update that Trader was having issues with hemorrhage, but I hadn't heard anything about maim damage, and probably just because it was so infrequently used, and the characters that have maim damage, they're just almost irrelevant in the S-Class era because they don't do enough maim damage. I guess the only way to really produce high amounts of maim damage would be using a maiming weapon, say on Priya, for example, and if her basic attacks were enough to do real damage or not. The only real other maim damage characters I can think of are Zachary, who does 1000 maim damage, which is quite low. Regina, so she also does, I think it's like 1600 maim damage, but it's not extremely high. And with toons that have over 10,000 HP, like 1600 maim damage, 1000 maim damage, just isn't enough, in my opinion, to be relevant. So overall with this video, I just wanted to pinpoint how Trader and his resilient is not working like properly, I guess. So sometimes he is able to resist the maim damage from Lily, but it should be 100% of the time if he has an over 50% maim resist mod as well as his resilient. So he should never be taking any maim damage at the moment, but currently he is sometimes taking 5,000 and it's flat damage. It's not even maim damage, which is more puzzling, I guess. And it's even showing that he's resilient or immune, but he's still taking the damage. And with other characters, they're sometimes still taking the maim damage even though a maim resist icon is appearing at the bottom of a screen. And finally, the other issue that I currently have that I think could be a bug is that Shane is able to resist maim damage if he's bodyguarding for another character. And I guess I should have tested this before making the video, but as I'm making this video, it kind of occurred to me that we do have a maiming weapon. So I'm curious to know how that interaction actually works with bodyguard as well as with these maim resist mods. So I've slightly changed the toons on this team. Priya now has a 20% AP weapon to self with maiming shot, and I have team player weapons on other toons just so that she crits more often, because on a critical hit it'll release the damage as maim damage, which as we know can be resisted. So right now I'm just proving that when Lily rushes on Negan, it's Shane who gets the maim icon above his name, 2,500 maim damage because it's 50%. But now when we attack with Priya, we're going to notice something a little interesting. So Shane can successfully bodyguard for Negan, yet there's two interesting points here. First, Negan gets the icon that shows he has maim on him, although no maim exists. And secondly, if you pay attention, Shane doesn't have any maim damage on him. So his HP, his max HP at that, isn't being decreased. Instead, it's just showing that Negan was the one who was maimed, which, as we know, is incorrect. And an interaction that I think would be interesting to test out, and it's just taking me a while to get the exact circumstances, but what happens if in this case I applied trauma to Pete? If I applied that trauma to Pete and Pete uses his active skill to heal and recover from maim, will Pete take that trauma damage or not? Because the icon shows that he took the maim damage and he recovers maim on his active skill. But we know that Shane bodyguarded for him. So it's just an interesting interaction is all, and it's something that I will definitely end up testing out. I really like finding these interesting little combinations, and sometimes some of them are brought to my attention by other people. So guys, please keep bringing them to me. I love testing this stuff out, trying to figure out why something happens, and trying to deduce why one interaction has this result but another interaction has a different result. The example being Lily's maim damage on her rush versus Priya with a maiming weapon. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video. I hope you guys found it interesting, and also happy 4th of July to anyone who celebrates.